Yo,
What is it?
Live streaming is on.
It's from the makers of CryptoKitties. They're making NBA collectibles, and it's crazy. I watched the CryptoKitties happen only from the perspective of headlines back whatever a few years ago that was. But kind of watching this happen firsthand is crazy. So we've been chatting about it, some of us in the background. But it's a fascinating story. And the simple fact is there's a lot of NBA basketball fans who are finding out what the blockchain is right now.
I figured we should do the same thing for Major League Soccer.
Right? I know. I mean, it seems if this model is built, why not do it for everything else, right? But it's also I've been following the Top Shot Discord, and they're so far in over their heads. They can't keep up. Their servers can't keep up with things. Their Ethereum-based tooling is crashing every time they try to run it. So it's fascinating.
Only Ethereum fans would like basketball cards.
I don't know what to make of this.
I have a basketball hoop here in my room. So.
Shots fired.
I have more price whiplash in that than I ever have had with any legit cryptocurrency. All right, but that's neither here or there. We are here to keep building stuff, okay? And if this is your first time joining us, it's totally fine. There's no, I'm going to suggest assignments at the end of each of our sessions, but it's optional. We're all busy, so we're all trying to learn as much as we can in the time that we have. The real premise of this experimental course is to try to provide as much context as I can in as short a time as possible, so that you can then pick that up wherever you want and, follow your interests, okay? So I'm going to share my screen first. There. And I'm going to need to zoom in on this a bit. All right, so we left off last week with a real ugly app that we wouldn't be able to sell to anybody, but at the very least, we did get our main app.js file looking kind of clean and neat here, okay? We realized that, okay, instead of putting everything in one file, I can make a separate JavaScript file for each of my site components, and then all I have to do in app.js is just put a reference to each of those. And then I'm going to be able to see all of these things on the page. All right. So let's look at what this looks like right now. Okay. So this is where we left off last time. I'm kind of humiliated even putting this on the screen right now, but it's a place to start and we can build from here. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is just try to make this thing look a little bit better. Before I jump into that, is anybody interested in experimenting with this live share thing in VS Code? Does anybody have this open? Let's take just a minute to do this, okay?
I got it open. What's this live share? What are you doing?
Yeah, so what we're able to do is basically turn VS Code into a shared document that everybody can just be kind of bouncing around as we go. And I want to see if it can handle a handful of people. All right, so if you're in VS Code, follow along with me here. Over on the left-hand side, there's the extension block. This kind of takes you to a marketplace. I got a few different extensions installed here. But there's one called Live Share. It looks like this. It's an official Microsoft extension that allows us to collaborate in real time. So if you go over here, you search for Live Share, make sure the version you get matches the one I have right here. Okay, Live Share, ms-vs live share.vs live share. I'm not sure how much the version matters, but it should be approximately that. It should take like less than 10 seconds to install. And once once you do that, let's see here. Yeah. Now I should be able to send you all this link. So in the chat, yeah, exactly. Quiz. I mean, sports NFTs, this feels like such a chance to expose people to NFT marketplaces. All right, I just put a link in the chat. Try clicking on it. And I'm curious to hear from everybody what happens.
It worked for me. It opened up VS Code.
Good. And now try.
It says it's reading the file tree right now.
Oh, cool. Okay. So it takes a moment to read the whole tree. And then go to, if somebody gets in there, try to go to app.js. Let me see if we can see your cursor bouncing around here.
Do you know? Okay. So it looks like you have to sign in with GitHub or something.
That's what it was. Okay, you know what? Let's not take time to do that. Oh, look, Juan's there. Nice. All right, Juan's in. So good. If you're signed in with GitHub, this will work for you. If you're not signed in, don't worry about it right now. I just wanted to try this experiment. And good. Okay, now we can put Juan on the spot at the very least and make him do some code. That's good. Okay. So I have 3 things I want to do tonight. One is start talking about routing a little bit so we can kind of move on from what we did last week. And okay. Gregory, I just muted you because I was getting some background noise. Let me know if I have to press anything else. Okay, last week we separated our concerns into separate JavaScript files. Tonight we want to separate these different site components so that they're each a different page of a web app, okay? The way we're going to do that first is by installing an extension called React Router DOM. And then we're going to do some styling to kind of give this app more of kind of the web interface that you probably expect from a basic website, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to shut this down for a moment down here. I'm going to go over to my package.json just so I can see a list of dependencies that I've installed already. Right, we've used Axios. We installed but didn't yet use Bootstrap. And now we're going to install one, npm install, called React Router DOM. And I sent a link to anybody who's in the Adopt group. I'm sorry, I forgot to put this on the Gimbal Labs Discord. But I sent a link just to the Wikipedia article about the document object model, just for anybody who hasn't heard that phrase before. Long story short, when we talk about the document object model, what we're talking about is the ability to only re-render parts of the page, right? Parts of the document that need to be changed, right? We can keep each component of the page separate, and we can save bandwidth by only reloading the parts that we need to reload. And that's what React Router is going to do for us. All right. Now, hopefully this is starting to look like a predictable pattern, right? We install something on the command line via npm install. We see it show up in our package.json. And then on the parts of the website where we want to use it, we're going to need to import that. So I'm going to import, use brackets here, browser router from There it is. Okay. And basically, what I have to do to get this to start getting this to work is I have to wrap my entire app in a browser router. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I've imported that. I'll add this tag here. Go like that. Okay. And a lot of times, if you look up a React router tutorial on the web, or even if you go to the React router docs, you'll often see people write it like this. This is not necessary to import browser router as another name. The reason a lot of people do this is just so they don't have to type browser router twice. They can just type the word router now, right? This is just like declaring a variable in algebra, right? I'm going to say that this is equal to this. Browser router is router. The other thing this allows me to do if I follow this practice is if I realize I need one of React Router's other routers, it's easy to change it right here, okay? So just two reasons you'll kind of see that as a common way of doing things, okay? Now I also am going to use some routes here. I'm going to import route as well. And what we mean by routes is, whoops, I got rid of the word browser there. That's going to cause problems later. What we mean by routes are when the document object model, right? When the DOM reads the URL that we're currently on, it's going to take that information and use it to choose what shows up on the page. Now, ideally, what I want to do here is I want this part, this site header, to be there all the time, okay? And by the way, I should go back to site title. I should remember, okay, where was I getting that subheading from? I was getting it from the hometown field of our ideas data file. So let me go back to ideas.json and let me just add here. We've got a lot more than Worcester, Newton represented. So we'll just say Worcester MA and beyond. Okay. And if I save that in the data file, that is now imported right over here in the site title, right? So I didn't have to change anything here. I just changed the data that's being served up. And then site title goes up to app. And then site title is rendered on the page after being imported here. And sure enough, if I head back over here, I got to start the app again, npm start. What I should see is, yeah, there we go, Worcester, Mass and beyond. Okay, so we just changed that title. And we're going to leave that part. It's these other two things. I would love to have this stay the same, but then have like maybe an ideas page and a keys page, right? Put these two things as two separate objects that I can load onto the DOM. So let's try this. Okay. I put route there. Let me see. I want to show you guys. Okay. So this tells us how to install it. This shows me some basic routing. Okay, and yeah, I had to go back here to remember exactly what to import as well. All right, so actually, in addition to route, I'm going to want to put a switch here. Switch does what it sounds like. So now I'm going to wrap idealist and metadata call in a switch. And then you see right here, it says route and path. Okay, for each path that I could write in the site URL, I can have a different word. So let's do this. Let me go route path equals quotes close. VS Code does a lot of auto completing for me, right? When I close that tag, I get the closing tag. I'm going to make 2 copies of that. I'm going to put idea list inside of one of these. And then I'm going to put metadata call inside the other. All right. Now all I need to do is give these actual paths. So let's say the path here is going to be ideas, and the path here is going to be metadata. Okay, and these could be anything. I'm going to save this. And I'm going to go back over here, and we should, yeah, check it out. Okay, look, these other 2 components, idea list and metadata call, are no longer on the page. All I see is the title. The title, remember, is outside of the switch statement, right? So I've got certain parts of my page now, certain parts of my page now that are outside the switch. Those are always going to be there. And then I got other parts that are inside the switch. And this is going to depend on what URL I'm pointing to. So watch. If I go here, and now I type the /ideas, now the ideas pop up. And if instead I type /metadata, the metadata loads. Okay. Questions so far? How's the pace right now?
It's perfect.
Yeah, y'all just speak up if there's anything that completely loses you, okay? Otherwise, I'll keep going through this stuff. All right, now, if I was really making this thing for production, there's a few things I would want to think about. I'd want to think about error handling. So, for example, if somebody types something else where there's no route, like if I type /ada right here, right? Notice that I don't get anything here. There's that makes nothing additional render on the page because there's no route that points to that, okay? Now, I should probably make this page say not found, right? If the user arrives at a URL that I haven't handled, I should probably be trying to catch that error by saying page not found or something. I'm going to leave that part to you. And I should probably have, at the very least, a path that just appears when it's just a slash, right? When there's nothing additional to talk about. And so when we do that route, let's just use a heading and say hello, right? And notice, of course, I can import additional components and I can render those this way, but I can also just write whatever HTML I want in between these route tags. And now if I save this, whoops, what'd I do? Whoops. Let's try that instead. That should work. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now it says hello because I'm not going to any other route. But if I type ideas again, the word hello disappears, right? So you can think of this route right here as kind of my home. Okay, so why don't I write the words home page right there? So there's my home page. I'm going to have a metadata page. And because I know what I want to do next tonight, let's add one more. I'm going to copy this block of code so I don't have to type it all again. Let's do one that says weather. And we're going to call this weather as well. And we're going to import a file that we haven't created yet. Import weather from weather. And let's then go and create that file. Yeah, right, because it can't compile because it can't find that file anywhere. Let's make it. Make a new file, weather.js. Oops. And let's just say, this is the weather page for now. And this is best practice. A lot of people will set up their routing first, right? If you're building an app, you know what the sections are going to be. You just go through, you set up your routes just so you know everything is working. So let me go make sure that's working. If I type weather right here, yeah, okay, this is the weather page. Now, hopefully, there's something you don't like about this page, which is that I'm sitting here just rewriting URLs every time. And that's obviously not a great user experience, right? So hopefully you recognize the next thing we need now are links that are going to allow us to actually navigate this as if it were a modern web app. Okay, let's do that next. And in order to do that, oh, I'm sorry, I looked at the React Router docs before. I didn't realize they weren't shared on my screen. Let me, these are the React Router docs right here, just in case you want to look at those, reactrouter.com. Okay. And another thing that's, you can see browser router as router here. We already used switch. We already used route. Okay. The next thing we're going to use finally is link. And link is what you use to actually make the menu for navigating a site. Okay, so let's add that now. And just to save time, let me just copy this entire nav right here, bring it over to my app, and let's put it, I don't know, I like it when the links are above the site title. Let's try that. All right. All right, cool. Wait, did I just copy that twice? Boo. All right, so I've got, I want to get rid of that too. Okay. Good. All right, now, first of all, I get this failed to compile error because link is not defined. Hopefully you're thinking in your head about what I need to do there. Right. Of course, this is happening because I haven't imported it yet. Try that. Okay, so I got rid of the critical error, but now, of course, these links don't go to the places that I'm using. I need ideas, metadata, weather, and home. Let's do that. So home looks good, just a slash. Let's go ideas. I could write whatever word I want to render to the screen here. So let's demonstrate that here. I could write metadata for the link. That has to match the route, but here I can write some metadata, right? Whatever. And finally, there was one more link I added, which was weather, which we're going to use in a moment. So let's make one copy of this. This one. Weather. And we're going to play with the weather API in just a minute. All right, let's save that. All right, so check it out. Now I actually have a working little web app. If I go home, I get the home page, ideas, I see my ideas, some metadata, takes a moment to load up, but then there it is. And then the weather API, this is the weather page. And hopefully you can see this on my screen the way it is. Notice that this piece right here is not flashing and reloading. It's staying rendered to the page, okay? And that's the critical thing to recognize about what the DOM does, okay? Whenever you're on a website where you really feel like you're in an app because only some parts of the page are reloading. Look, it even lets me keep those highlighted, right? this is the magic that the DOM provides. Okay. Questions? All right. Well, it's still ugly, so we got to make this look better now. Okay. So now we've got some routing set up. I'm not a complete expert on React, but I would say that more than 80% of the time when you see a React app online, it's probably using React Router in some way. Okay. Don't quote me on that. I might be wrong, but I'm willing to bet it's probably higher than that. This is an extremely common tool. Okay. Nice. Nice. All right. Did you build one already? Okay. Gregory's a step ahead. This is awesome. Okay. Now, yeah, exactly. What we want to do, notice that this nav right here, okay, it probably shouldn't be on the page. So what he's doing up here is giving us a place to which we can move this menu. Okay. Not only that, but applying even better best practices by putting this inside of a folder. Okay. So look, inside of source, we already have a data folder. And then the fact that all of these different component files are just floating around without being organized, this is actually really bad practice to have left these like this. So one thing we could choose to do right now, actually, is we could choose to organize this. So let me do that. In source, I'm going to add a components folder. Yep. And that's where we're going to put the menu.js that's being imported here. We're ready for that. And you see he already added the menu tag.
I guess I had to push it to. I already wrote it, but.
Oh, you did? You got it? Nice, is it in? Nice. Here, I'm just going to grab this now and move this. Now watch this, everybody. Okay, check it out. If I grab this and put it here and put it here, this is going to break a lot of stuff.
Do you have RFC?
I do. I just wanted to show everybody what would happen if I just bring that part in. I don't know what I would do without RFC. All right. And oh, shoot. Oh, wow. Okay. Something's buggy about this. Thanks, Gregory. All right. Something's buggy about how the sharing works because it's making all this repeated code show up. That's something to troubleshoot later. But I'm glad we're trying this. All right. And indeed, yeah, let me cut this for just a moment and then instead put it in here. Now, this probably still won't compile. And again, hopefully you can see it. I'm trying to use link here, which is part of React Router DOM, and I haven't imported it to this file. That's not the problem. No, because actually this import, yeah, it's best practice to really put it here. All right, so let me do that. Import link. Let's see, now what else is it telling me? Okay. All right, so it's definitely more buggy when we do this sharing thing. This is great because I think we're getting like everybody's constant updates, but I kind of like it. All right, look at that. All right, maybe, oh, we have a chat too. Okay, cool. Hey, thanks for bearing with me while I figure out how this live share works. But I'm going to turn it off because this is too distracting the way.
Yeah, that's super annoying.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, this is something to troubleshoot some other time, but not now. How do I turn off sharing? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm just gonna I'm just gonna uninstall this and deal with it later. Sorry, everybody.
If I log off, it will stop and log in. Yeah.
Oh, is it better when everybody's logged in? Is that part of the problem?
No, I'm just saying that if I log off, it will stop sharing.
Okay.
Let me do that. Be back.
All right. I'm just gonna kill it, come back, and get this thing going again. Hey, thanks for that experimentation, everybody. And that's good. Good. All right, let's do this. So I do want the title there. I do want the menu there. I do want the router. I want everything below this out. All right, then router looks good. It is imported. All right, and we can get this going again. Good, that's fine. So now I've got router. Route. This one doesn't close. Okay. Page. All right. It needs a closing tag for switch. We can do that. And we don't need the site title again down there. All right, now we're compiling again. All right, we're back to where we were. Good. All right, thanks for sticking with me there. Now, we did create a separate file for menu. That's good. And it already works. Good. Imported it, put it above the site title. Okay, and we'll clean up those div tags, but we'll get to that later. Let's skip that. Good. All right, close that. All right, so where we left off is now I want to make this thing look a little bit better, because obviously this is not going to cut it. And that's what Bootstrap is for. So let me bring up these docs. Bootstrap, like React, is a good, popular tool. It's not the best tool, but no, nothing is, right? So I'm choosing to use Bootstrap because just like React, it's very common. You're gonna see it. And in fact, it's funny, I was playing with an Ergo node over the weekend because I was so inspired from the Ergo Summit. And when you do spin up an Ergo wallet, the front end, like the really basic front end they've built, is built on Bootstrap. So, and you'll start to recognize Bootstrap when you travel around the web and when you look at different people's projects. All right, let's go here. There is a new beta version of version 5. We are not using that. And if you're ever unsure of which version you're using, just go to your package.json file. Find the dependency you're looking for, and oh, it's no longer here. Okay, wow, this is, oh no, that's because this is the one. Huh. Well, I did have it installed. Oh, gosh, this is so weird how many bugs showed up the moment we started sharing. That's fascinating. Okay, anyway, if I npm install Bootstrap, whether you've done this already or if you do it on the spot. Now, am I in the wrong? Okay, well, I thought I could do this without the save tag. Why is it not there? All right, well, there was another thing I wanted to show you anyway, so this is fine. Okay, so we are going to go into the docs here. I am going to switch over here in just a minute, but before I do that, let's do Bootstrap with Create React App. And this is where you can see some documentation, right? This is the Create React App website. This is what we used to actually spin up our React project initially. This saves you a lot of time by taking care of some of the kind of background stuff that you would have to do if you were just starting your own React app from scratch. Okay, and then here in the docs, you see it says save here, but it shouldn't need that anymore. Will that make a difference? npm install save Bootstrap. Am I just not inside? Oh, this is... Oh, I guess this is where I am. Maybe I'm here. All right, there it is. That's what I was hoping to see. Sorry, I got my folders mixed up. Here we are. Okay, so now I'm in example app. That's that. I'm going to assume this is the right folder. And we're using version 4.6. This is what I was looking for, is I just wanted to find out what version of Bootstrap I was on. And let's head over there. Now, if I look at the docs, I can switch to version 4.6. And these are the docs that are going to apply to what I'm working on. From what I've seen so far, version 5, it's different, but everything you learn will still apply. Like the differences are all welcome, the ones I've noticed so far. All right, now there's a few things we want to do. First of all, obviously, this is not what menus typically look like. We're used to seeing navs or nav bars, and that's what Bootstrap provides for us. So let's go figure out how to do that. I do recommend reading these docs. Like, learning how to use Bootstrap will give you enough background to understand its advantages and disadvantages, and then just to notice some other ways of doing things. Okay. One of the things that Bootstrap is particularly good at is making it easy to handle both mobile and browser-based screen sizes, just a variety of different viewports. Okay, so that's actually the first thing they'll tell you when you jump into like layout here. It's going to tell you that it handles all these different sizes of screens, which is really cool. And once you get to know how to use these different SM, medium, large, and XL tags, it gets pretty straightforward to make responsive web layouts that will look good, no matter what size screen a user is on. But I'm just curious about how navs and nav bars work right now. So let's see if we can do this. And so you see how in our app, well, let's go to our menu. We had nav as an HTML tag, and then unordered list as another tag. And then each of these links is a list item. But what I'm seeing in the Bootstrap docs is that actually we don't even use a separate nav tag. We just use unordered list, and then we give it the class nav. And then finally, we give each of the items in the list the class nav item. let's try that. Let's see what happens if we do this. Okay. So let me go in here. I'm going to get rid of the nav tags. I'm going to give these ULs a class equal to nav. Nav equal sign there. Okay, and then back to the docs. It says I can give the list items the class nav item. For each one. Let's see if I see any magic now when I head over here. Oops, I gotta reload it again. NPM start. Doesn't look that much different yet, does it? All right. So what's the thing I forgot to do? Well, if I go over here, this is the create React app docs. Okay, I installed it, but I think I need to go and import this. Yeah, this line right here is the thing I'm pretty sure I didn't do yet. Okay, so I need to go find a file called index.js and import the Bootstrap styling sheet. Let's do that. So index.js. It says to import this at the beginning, put any other imports below, so your CSS from your components takes precedence. Okay, so I'm going to put that import above. Oops. Again. This above importing index.css. And now let's save that. And now if I go back, now I should see that these Bootstrap changes are taking effect. The problem is, I hope I'm looking at the right copy of this. I have so many copies now. All right, hold on one second. This got really confusing because I got all these copies of things. All right, so, all right, you know what I'm gonna do? That was not the outcome I was expecting from live share. This is the one I changed. Yeah. And index.js has Bootstrap imported. And package looks good. So let me make sure I'm actually, no, but this doesn't have Bootstrap installed right here. Okay. I think the one I have running is actually this one, then it must be. And this one, okay. Y'all, of all the things I expected to be showing you right now, this isn't it, but let me just grab this.
It's still helpful to see though for someone.
Yeah, right. I know. We got 2 copies, and this is why you don't want to get all disorganized. But that was actually great. All right, so let me place all that. Then let me go here to this index.js. There it is. There's the import that I was hoping for. And in this app.js, how we looking? All right. I'm going to bet that we're going to see something now. What do you think? There it is. All right. All right. Still not pretty, but it's getting closer. You see how this is no longer a list. All right. And so what Bootstrap is doing for us is it's taking this list syntax, right? This list markup for HTML, but it's changing the styling because built into Bootstrap are these classes, right? And you can see some examples of classes here in app.css. So if you were here for the first session, you might remember how we had the app class and the app header class giving us a whole bunch of styling we didn't want. It was centering everything on the page. It was giving us that nice dark blue background color and white text. But the center alignment was kind of getting on my nerves. So I just got rid of those tags entirely, okay? So you can make your own class tags in the app.css file. But when you import Bootstrap, you're also getting access to the entire library that is documented here, okay? So far I made a nav, but what if we make a nav bar instead? Okay, well, this goes back to being a nav class, and instead of trying to copy all this stuff, I'm going to, well, no, let's just do this for now. I'm going to make this nav bar nav mr auto. Let's go here. And what I'm hoping is this makes it look a little bit better. Okay, now it's stacked them up again. Okay, but at least it doesn't have the bullet points. And then finally, let me go back to those docs. And why don't I bring in this nav class nav bar? I don't need all of that. What if I just wrap this like this? Okay, so we had a nav before. I got rid of it when I started reading the documentation, but then I decided that I wanted to experiment with the nav bar instead. That didn't make a difference. I actually, you know what? And this is one of those things I actually forget at the moment what I'm missing that would give me more of a nav bar look like this, to be honest. So this is one of those things that I would need to spend a little bit more time with to find why this isn't filling the page. I don't think this is it, but let me try. See, now they're right next to each other. Now I happen to know that if I type nav fill right here, it should look better. Does that go? Sorry, guys, I didn't review this part right here, and I haven't done this in a little while, so I'm not sure why I'm not getting this nav bar to fill the page. And instead of you watching me tinker with this to make this nav bar look like I want it to, I'm going to choose to leave this like this for now, and I'm going to come back to it and make it look a little better later, okay? Because what I really want to do is play with an API just a little bit. And I want to make our metadata look better. Okay, so please forgive the busted nav bar, but that's, you can see we're moving in the right direction there. Okay, let's do a couple other things just to play with this. Now, this metadata page was, you know, a cheap model of what the Cent folks did for that blockchain intelligence site. Okay, so let's just use a little simple Bootstrap trick to make this look a lot better. This list of components in the Bootstrap docs, you can get lost in this. And what I recommend is just click through these and just learn about what each of these is, right? We're all digital natives at this point, right? We all know what it looks like to look at web pages. So you're going to see things that you recognize here, right? And this just gives you language for talking about this stuff. One of the things that Bootstrap makes really easy are these cards, okay? And without going too deep into this, let's just grab some really basic formatting here. All right, let me grab this card formatting. So I have a div, opening and closing div tags with the card class, and inside those another div with the class card body. And what I'm wondering is what would happen if I used this in my metadata call. Remember, we were mapping stuff here, but all we were doing was mapping just the header, right? And what I'd rather do is put this inside some better styling. So I have one line right here, but there's no reason this has to be one line. I'll give myself a little bit more space to work. Let me paste in this syntax here that I want to get for the cards. Okay. And then it's really, this part goes before the HTML. So let me cut that and move it up to here. And yeah, actually the H1, that part's okay. We'll get to that error in just a moment. Okay, this parenthesis opens here and closes here. We're taking each of our datum and we're going to map it into a card. And inside the card, we're going to write the datum. See if that works right away. Better, right? So at least it's not a list, but these, I still don't want these filling up the whole page. But already I have the card syntax working. You can see it adds some padding around the text right here. So it already looks a little bit easier on the eyes. And now if only I could control the width of these things, maybe so I could have like rows of them, several rows. And so with that idea in mind, let me go back to the documentation. And is there anything here? Right, so I'm on the card page. This is the table of contents about cards. I don't see the word width here, but I do see it up here. Why don't I try that? 18 rem makes it that wide? I'm willing to try, okay. And I badmouthed inline styles last week, but we're going to use one tonight anyway. So I'm going to say inside, where is that? Inside the card div. I'm going to add a style. And it says I can just go like this. And this is going to break it. Yeah, I got a blank page. It's broken. The style prop expects a mapping from style properties to values. This is one of those problems that's really annoying. And the first time I faced it, I was pretty stuck for a few minutes. But long story short, because we're working in React, we have to treat this attribute. Look, it says style prop value must be an object. And objects have curly brackets. So that's really what this is asking for here. Let's do that. Does this, oh, this needs to be in quotes. Okay. Better? All right, so now I have, at least these cards don't take up the whole page, but they're still not showing up in rows. Okay, so I fixed the width. That was pretty good. But now, what else does this page tell me about how to see? Look, there's all these different parameters I could use. You might even if you've ever been to the Gimbal Labs website, you might recognize this right here. We're kind of using this markup as or this styling, sorry, as a placeholder on the Gimbal Labs site. Ooh, grids. Look at this. What do we have here? Yeah, that's what I want. I want cards next to each other. Using the grid, wrap cards in columns and rows as needed. Okay. That's kind of cool. Is there a shortcut? All right, a lot of cool options. We could color things. We could add borders. Okay. Yeah, this is actually what I want. How about that? What if I just wrap the whole thing in a div class that says card group? Let's see what happens. Now this, here's the key thing. Oh, it does want that after all. Now, keep this in mind. What I want to do is wrap all of these cards in a card group div, but I want that to be outside the map, right? Because the group only happens once. So here's my whole map right here. It looks like all I really need to do is give this div that surrounds it the class card groups. Let me just do that. Yeah. That's so that looks like. All right, now how's that look? All right, and so this is the kind of thing, right? I'm just tinkering right now. It seems to me that maybe the card group and asking for the width are conflicting with each other. What happens if I get rid of that explicit width? Still pretty bad. Actually, I'm not sure why that one's happening. It needs to be, I'm not in a container. All right, you see, I'm trying to get away without showing you everything about Bootstrap and showing you the minimum, and it's leading to new problems. So let me go here. And let's just give this class container fluid. And I think that should make a difference. Oh, that changed it. All right, so that's moving things around. Why are my cards doing that? All right, there's one more place I can check. All right, this is actually great. You see, I know I've built something in the past where the cards were working quite simply. So let's go look at Gimbal Labs site. I made a component there for all the CSKs, CSK list. I had to have a container. And I mapped, you see, look, I do have rows. Okay. So all I'm doing right now is I'm going back and looking at something previously to remember what I did so that I can now use it. And this is actually pretty useful for us. First of all, if you look at the Bootstrap documentation, the layout section, right? The first thing it shows you is how containers and viewports work. The next thing it shows you is how grids work. And it's pretty intuitive. A grid consists of rows and columns. And what it looks like is that in order to get our cards to show up in rows and columns instead of like this, it looks like we're going to need to bring some of this in. So let's just do that. Row calls. Okay. What if I just, here in the metadata call, we're going to have a card group, but before we even get that far, I'm going to wrap this div in a class that is called row. And then I'm going to use row calls. Yeah.